Hey, what's up everybody? It's TheHyphenate here, and today I'm gonna show you guys how to use your Godox Flash with your Sony Alpha camera in continuous shooting mode. So that way you can take multiple photos and have the flash fire off with those photos. Now this is incredible if you're doing action shots, and you definitely need to make sure that you have the flash going off on every shot. Now this does have a limit. It's not gonna go forever, but there are certain settings that you can do to make it last longer depending on what you're trying to shoot. Now this is incredible and game-changing for event photography, such as weddings, when you have a bouquet toss or a garter toss. So there are various ways that you can use the multi-mode on your flash, and those can get a little bit more advanced and complicated. I will explain that in a little bit. I'll go over more in detail the multi-mode, but right now I want to go over a quick and simple setup on how to use continuous shooting in photo mode on your Sony camera to make sure that your flash is firing off when those continuous photos are being taken. So first, make sure that you're in photo mode and make sure that your shutter speed is somewhere over 1/40th or higher. Now, when I'm doing photos, I never go under 1/160th if I'm shooting handheld. Your ISO, you're gonna wanna choose manually. You're gonna wanna make sure that you put that to a certain amount that is gonna be consistent with the flash firing off. So we'll go over that in a bit to find that balance. But again, you're gonna wanna make sure that your ISO is manually set, and that can take a few tries to get it right. Then you're gonna wanna make sure that your drive mode or your shooting mode is not set to single shooting, but to continuous shooting. And you can change that from low, mid, high, high plus. I generally shoot at high when I'm doing continuous photos. So I'm gonna select that. Now your white balance, your autofocus area, raw, JPEG, etc. That's all stuff that you can figure out yourself. Now I'm at autofocus continuous, auto white balance, and now we can go to the flash. All right, so with the unit on, you're gonna click down to mode and choose multi. Now, if you click on the left, you can actually choose the output power. The maximum output power that you can have in multi is quarter power. And then you can also choose the times and the hertz. So here we have the one that can be adjusted and then the hertz that can be adjusted. Now, again, that can be a little bit more advanced and a little bit more complicated. I'll go over that in more detail, but for now, you don't need to know all that. I usually just set it to 1:1 when I'm shooting in continuous mode on photos with a shutter speed of over 1/40th of a second. Now, if you're shooting in continuous at high, I found that the maximum output power that is consistent is 1/16th power. So I recommend doing that or lower, and again, 1:1 here. Now we're gonna go ahead and make sure that we connect the flash. Now, if you did your settings prior to connecting it to your camera, generally it's gonna go to TTL mode. Just go ahead and click on mode and get back into multi, and then whatever your last settings were will still be there. So once you're all set up, you're gonna wanna take some practice photos to kind of get the right exposure to see how dark your shots are coming out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take one photo. Now viewing that, I can see that my photo's drastically underexposed, so I'm gonna have to crank up the ISO on my camera. So now I'm at ISO 320, I'm gonna take a test photo. Right now I'm just taking a photo of a leg of a tripod, so it's nothing extravagant or exciting. But now I have an exposure that I want, and we're set at continuous mode high with my ISO and my manual output power on the flash being at 1/16th output power. Now it can be an AFC, autofocus continuous, with continuous shooting. And if I hold down the shutter, it's gonna take photos for quite a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold down the shutter button. Now with the flash being at output power 1/16th and me shooting in high, I generally get between 20 and 30 photos without a single misfire, meaning I get about 20 to 30 photos in that high continuous mode shooting with the flash firing on every single photo before it starts to miss a few shots. So for sure, about 20 photos at that speed. Now you can change your output power, but if you go to 1/4 power, which is the maximum output power, then it is not gonna fire as fast. The recycle time is not as quick. So if you're trying to take continuous high photos, then you do not wanna go more than 1/16th output power in multi-mode. And it's very important to know that when you're in multi-mode, you have to manually choose the output power. So there's no TTL mode in multi. So now that I've shown you how to use your flash for continuous shooting on your Sony Alpha cameras, now I'm gonna break down the details of using multi-mode and other ways that you can use it beyond just event photography. So now let me go over the parameters. You have your output power that can be adjusted to a maximum of 1/4 power or you can go all the way down to 1/256th power. And then you have here where it says times and then hertz. On the left, we have times. This is how many times the flash will go off. Then under hertz is how many flashes per second will go off. So the left side is the maximum amount of flashes, and the right side, the maximum amount of flashes per second. So here if we have 5 and 5, so if we have 5 flashes in conjunction with 5 flashes per second, then that means we're gonna get 5 flashes in 1 second. So if I hold the test button, you're gonna see it go off 5 times. Now you might not really see it on the camera because the shutter speed of 1/50th on this video might not show every flash, but you can hear it. One more time. So again, 5 flashes in total. And then this is saying that there are 5 flashes per second. 5 divided by 5 is 1 second in total for these 5 flashes. So the simple math is to take the number on the left and divide it by the number on the right, and that'll tell you how many flashes per second are gonna go off. So let's go back to the times and change that to, let's say we want 10 flashes in total, and then we have still 5 flashes per second. If we're doing a total of 10 divided by 5, that means in 2 seconds, 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 seconds, we'll get 10 flashes. So I'm gonna hold down the test button. Now again, you might not have seen every single flash because the video shutter speed is at 1/50th, but you heard 10 clicks. All right, so let's get a little crazier. Let's do 20 times by 40 flashes per second. 20 divided by 40 is actually 0.5, so half a second. So in half a second, we're gonna get 20 flashes. You're not even gonna be able to hear it enough because it's gonna go so fast. Now, when you wanna start firing off a lot of flashes within one photo, you actually need to switch over not from continuous shooting, but you need to actually switch over to single shooting on your drive on your camera. And then you want your shutter speed to be slower to be able to allow all those flashes to go off per photo. For example, let's say I want the 20 flashes every half second, as we have here, with the output power being at 1/256th. The only real way to make that happen is under single shooting. And we're gonna wanna slow down our shutter speed to, let's say, half a second, which is 0.5. So here I have half a second shutter speed, which ideally you wanna be shooting on a tripod if you're doing that slow. I'm gonna click the shutter button once. I have the shutter speed already at half a second, so it's automatically gonna do those 20 flashes in that half second. Now, if my shutter speed was even slower, let's say I had a 1 second shutter speed and I keep the same flash settings that I currently have, the flash is set to stop at the 20 flashes. So even with my shutter speed being 1 second, the flash is set to only do 20 flashes in half a second. The flashes are gonna stop and then the camera is gonna continue for another half second with the shutter open. So again, the simple math is this number divided by this number. And that'll tell you exactly how many flashes are gonna fire off per second. So again, if you just want the flash firing off on continuous shooting, specifically for events, you wanna make sure that your shutter speed on your camera is set to 1/40th of a second or faster. Now handheld, I never shoot less than 1/160th of a second. And you're gonna wanna make sure that your flash output in multi-mode is 1/16th power or lower, and you can just leave the times and the hertz 1 to 1. And then lastly, make sure that you do some test shots and choose your ISO to be manual so you can have manual exposure to make sure that it fits with this output power to get the shots that you want. So there you guys have it. That's how you do continuous shooting with your Godox flash. Now this will work with various cameras and various flashes, though I use the Godox V860 Mark III with the Sony A7C or the A7S III or the A7 IV, and it works phenomenally. If you're interested in getting any of the gear that I use, I do have links in the description where you can purchase them. It doesn't change the price that you get it at, but it does help this channel. Please make sure to drop a like on this video, drop a comment below if you have any questions, and please make sure to subscribe. I have a lot more videos coming soon. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.